After about a week of build-up, we've gotten a brand new Pokemon reveal with Poltchageist. And honestly, I really like it. So aside from just a little trailer, Pokemon posted a video that told the tale of this strange ghost Pokemon. I do like that it's set up as a little story presentation as part of a festival all in live action. Kind of like how the first trailer for the DLC used a lot of real life footage with the humans' faces obscured, mostly focusing on the setting and the Pokemon imagery. So I guess we can add this to the live action Pokemon canon. Anyway, the tale begins with some very nice animation telling the story of a tea master obsessed with perfecting the tea ceremony. After he faints from exhaustion, his tea caddy is moved from person to person until it finally comes to life as a Pokemon Poltchageist. It wants to share its powder but has a temper similar to the bitter old tea master. If anyone doesn't play along, it drains their life force from anything it sprinkled the powder on, and even seals up cracks with it. The video ends by cutting back to the presentation where the audience has fallen asleep. But not out of boredom, no, as it turns out all of their snacks were sprinkled with the matcha powder, and so Poltchageist comes to drain them all of their life force. So this is actually a lot to unpack, and boy am I glad, because this was one of those really cool Pokemon reveals. So first of all, Poltchageist is a completely different Pokemon from Poltchageist. It is a convergent Pokemon, and I do really like the idea of that. With a ghost Pokemon like this, I think that concept works a lot better than a regional form, especially because this isn't just a different type of tea, it's actually the powder itself. Anyway, let's break down that story a little more. Pretty basic, but Poltchageist being so Japanese inspired probably takes some inspiration from the concept of Tsukumogami yokai. If you've been around the channel during Halloween, then you might be pretty familiar. These are objects that develop their own spirit after being around for 100 years. And that's just the general gist of things. There are so many individual types of these yokai. Anyway, in the story of the Tea Master, we see the caddy passed from person to person as technology develops around them. This old television set in the background and eventually the smartphone of the woman at the end gives us a decent timeline. Definitely believable to be at least 100 years. Then there's also the fact that Poltchageist fills in cracks with its matcha powder as a reference to the art of kintsugi, in which powdered gold, silver, and platinum is used to repair cracks in broken pottery. An interesting way of doing things because while fixing the object, it makes the cracks more obvious, treating the breakage as part of the object's history while making it whole once again. We also see this in the actual caddy portion of the Pokemon, and of course in the story it was actually broken by the Tea Master when he dropped it. I've gotta say, I love how this is brought in and used as a feature because normally cracks and chips are defining features of Pokemon like Sinistea and Poltchageist. They're ghosts, so obviously they would inhabit old broken pots and cups. But Poltchageist is a Pokemon that carries the attitude of perfecting traditions, so utilizing kintsugi in its design is genius. Of course, this little story is meant mostly for some flavor. In universe, it's probably something passed down as a way to entertain or even be used as a cautionary tale. In the video, it's mentioned that the story is used to tell children not to leave any uneaten food, lest it be flavored by a Poltchageist. With Pokemon basically just being animals, even the ghost types, there are countless in existence, and not every single one of them could have been the result of a bitter tea master, but it's still a fun story to think about. Again though, I do really love the idea of this Pokemon and how it's able to be its own thing while still being somewhat conceptually similar to Poltchageist. With other convergent Pokemon we've seen, they maintain the same number of evolutions as their original counterpart, so it could be possible that Poltchageist is an evolution itself, evolving from a little cup of green tea or something. Similar to how we were originally shown only Poltchageist and Sinistea was a secret until the actual release of the game. Though I think it would be really interesting if Poltchageist was just its own single stage Pokemon, or even just the first stage of another after that. But we'll see. For now, it might just be best to think with pre-established patterns in mind. I love how the face design on the pot changes, but then some of the matcha pops up out of the top like a little head. Most of the information on the Pokemon website reiterates what can be drawn from the gameplay trailer and the cinematic trailer, but we do also get a look at its signature ability, Hospitality. It triggers once it enters battle and heals some of the allies' HP. That's a cute little ability, and I like how it leans more into the nice portion of his Pokemon rather than the sinister part of it. Also, it's a grass and ghost type, which I guess makes sense, but I feel like we're seeing that combination a bit too often. Overall, I do really like this Pokemon because I ended up becoming quite the fan of Poltchageist during the last generation, and now Generation 9 finally getting a good spooky ghost type is exactly the kind of vibe I need going into fall. Also, the fact that it's so obviously taking all this inspiration from Japanese culture is really cool. Between the recent World Championships being held in Japan and this new region and its Pokemon being based off of it, I feel like Pokemon as a whole was getting a bit homesick after the core main series games had been traveling around the world. So let me know what you think about our brand new ghost Pokemon Poltchageist and what else you'd like to see added for the Teal Mask DLC. Anyway, the countdown continues for our trip to Kitakami. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators, Brandon Mork, Cheeseburger Lasers, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Meme Supreme, Michaela, Mochizuki Yoru, Nomad Nobi, Quago, Taijirai, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX. I'll catch you all later.
You